both kind of music wise, and I'm sure you guys want to know a bit about the devs and the team and stuff like that. But yeah, small intro on myself.
That's great, man. That's great. Now I learned a lot definitely just now about, where you come from and your background. And, I do have a couple different questions about, the platform and what it means for artists. So first, since it's NFTs, what crypto or how is the crypto process, involved in this right here?
Yeah, so really good question, because actually I was talking to someone a little bit earlier, actually from the gaming industry, and they said, why are you doing this specifically via NFTs? And there's kind of like multiple reasons behind there. Number one is it just allows, based on the NFT kind of ecosphere, and I'm sure you guys know, all being very much in kind of the VV space, it allows for a lot kind of broader and wider community that's also really kind of stuck together. So that's reason one, is it really allows kind of this international exposure to really tight-knit communities who support one another. That's more on kind of like the top-down level. That's not really kind of necessary for NFTs. But when it becomes about NFTs, it's the tech behind NFTs allows for the transferring of rights to be really easily done, to be pretty much locked away, right? There's no there's no real kind of paperwork needed behind there. Nothing can kind of be pulled under the rug. You can't sign a crappy deal or something like that. So that's kind of point two. Point three is that NFT tech allows for kind of instant royalty payouts. So one of the kind of facets of the Noizd platform that's in our roadmap is that we also have a distribution angle. So when you buy a Noizd NFT, so naturally guys like myself, like you guys, if you buy one of our NFTs, you're already hooked up to certain extents within the music industry, but also within the general ecosphere and marketing. So you could really kind of pump those NFTs yourselves. You could go out into a label, sell that one hit without, the one hit wonder type of stuff. But if my mom, hypothetically, right, or my grand or someone wants to buy one of the NFTs, what they can do, because they think that they have this really good ear for music, like everybody does, they can then give us their NFT. We'll distribute that to multiple streaming platforms, NFT streaming platforms, mainstream streaming platforms, as well as places like Facebook Music, which isn't a streaming platform, but they allow for music to be used in your ads and stuff. And because it's in an NFT, every time that is used or streamed, the royalties are paid out instantly. So generally, artists on Spotify, they have to wait for every half year to get their royalties, bearing in mind that the labels generally take 70% of the royalties and the licensing house takes 10, and then the artist gets the rest. But in any case, so they have to wait half a year. But because it's with NFTs, we'll be able to do that instantly. So that's kind of another layer behind why we're using NFTs and why we're kind of focusing on the NFT kind of ecosphere and marketplace. And then we have a bunch of other stuff in the roadmap, also like kind of fractionalized revenue, whereby hypothetically, Johnny, if you wanted to buy, one of the tracks from one of the artists, or if somebody wants to buy one of your tracks, right? Then you only, let's say, want to sell 75% of that. You can put that 75% on auction, and 3 different people can buy up 25, 25, 25, and you maintain 25. And because it's in an NFT, it allows for that fractionalized selling of those royalties and of those general rights. So that's pretty much why we're going with NFTs. It was a little bit harder to comprehend for someone out of the non kind of blockchain sphere, but I mean, you guys definitely get what I'm saying. But yeah, so that's pretty much why we're going with the NFT side of things.
Yeah, and I like what you said. It's like the royalties, they get paid instantly. And with the payouts, you could have certain fractions that you own of the track. And like you said, like with the guy who had the 360 deal and the label is making all this money, the reason why people get into 360 deals nowadays is because they don't have the marketing behind themselves. But, people are able to now just buy the track and they could do the marketing for that track because they own that piece of that track instead of owning the whole artist, and they could, buy as many of those tracks as they want and keep pushing and doing the marketing behind that. So that's a great way to kind of change up the way that the music game is now. So I
like 100%. Like I couldn't agree with you more. It's like, and I guess you kind of summed it up with like that's the way to change stuff up, and that's pretty much exactly what we want to do. You know.
So do you guys, what's your tech stack kind of looking like, and kind of what blockchain are you guys looking at, and that kind of tech side of it?
So currently we're on Ethereum. We're looking at multiple options of where we want to go in the future. The reason why we went on Ethereum in the beginning is basically it just allowed us to kind of speed everything up and also be able to take payments in Ethereum. But what we're looking at multiple kind of avenues in the future. We've been looking strongly at Tezos. We've been looking at Polkadot as well. As I said, the devs team who are with us and my CTO, you know, they did the Polkadot to Ethereum bridges. They've done a bunch of other stuff. All of them have worked for a lot of the other big companies. So yeah, that's kind of the tech team behind us, and kind of why we're kind of on that protocol at this stage. But yeah, you know, things will probably change in the future, almost certainly. But yeah, we're gonna have to see exactly when.
Would you guys say you're kind of almost like a TuneCore or like a United Masters for the blockchain, almost in that kind of sense, kind of like bridge the gap? You guys can probably offer a little bit more with the whole fractionalization and the royalty. Yeah. I'm getting the vibe. It's almost like that for the new blockchain type thing.
Yeah. So like in a sense, yeah. So I'll kind of one tier or kind of add-on feature that's in our roadmap is called the Noizd remix, which in essence is pretty much the blockchain kind of oriented version of TuneCore. However, we're plugged into, or we will be plugged into a few other systems, namely also NFTs streaming systems. But that's not the first kind of and foremost part of our platform. It's very much straight marketplace to buy unreleased collectible tracks and the rights behind them. So we're targeting kind of multiple collectors. So we're targeting collectors like ourselves who just want to buy dope stuff that's rare, and then we're targeting, and obviously I'm sure all of us think that we've got a great ear for music, right? So we're going to buy something that to us sounds dope, and as that artist kind of progresses, and if he really is a dope artist, right, as he gets more and more famous, we own one of his unreleased tracks. So our NFT actually accrues value based on his fame. So we're looking at kind of collectors like ourselves, but then we're also looking at collectors who could be in private equity, right? Private equity houses are buying up rights to musicians all the time. Scooter Braun and Ithaca with the whole Taylor Swift stuff, you know. So then there's that side. I know that Robbie also, I think he might have mentioned to you guys about the gaming partnerships that we're looking into. I don't know if you guys also saw in the chat, but so there's also the gaming industry. We have a bunch of advisors in the gaming industry where it basically allows games to buy up music by bypassing licensing houses. And again, the artists don't get paid from licensing houses in any case. So then that's like another facet. And then we're looking at what we like to call kind of like the ego investors. I'm sure you guys may know the story of Wu-Tang when they auctioned off an unreleased album in, I think it was either 2014, 15, or 16.
Yeah.
3-year delta, and that dude, Martin Shkreli,
Word.
So he was that farmer, bro, and he bought up that album, I believe, for $2 million at the time, and still nobody's ever heard it, right? But he's one of these ego investors who are like, I have it, so you can't have it type of thing.
Right. I caught it, and nobody else can have it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I got that one of one, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of like another collector on the platform. But yeah, you know, it's generally around the idea that you're investing in artists who you feel are going to blow. And it's kind of like the equivalent of, imagine if you guys were able to, or myself or anybody was able to snap up a Kanye track in, God, I don't know, 2003, right? Like that would be, and to this day, heard it, and then, you know.
Yeah,
10% of it or something like that. I like that a
Yeah.
lot.
So back in high school, man, I used to listen to a lot of these artists before they were hitting radio. I mean, I think it was like Youngbloods, like way back in the day. Some of these older, you know, rap artists, and I would literally pick them up off of a mixtape, you know, off these like various sites. It would get leaked, and then you could throw it on a soundtrack and be bumping it. People like you'd be bumping it for like a month, and then finally it hit the radio, and then everybody's listening to it, and by the time you know it came around, you're like you're already on something new. So I'm very familiar with that and catching artists when they're first starting out. So
yeah, exactly, and that goes back to the whole thing, because you know, like I've been in that situation where it's like I found like an artist and I'm like banging this track all day every day, and then like 3 months later other people are playing it, and it's like, yeah, dude, I've like moved on to something else, you know.
Right, yeah.
That kind of comes with the whole of with like that whole thought of, yeah, well, obviously I have a really good ear for music, right? Which is what I said. Everybody thinks that they've got a good ear, right? And if you do actually have a good ear, and you buy up one of these NFTs, and it turns out you really have a good ear, then it's like you're set, right? You've got a collectible that's just going to accrue constant value, and it's going to accrue constant like real world value, right? Because it's literally, as this person is getting more famous, you are essentially having something that's getting more and more valuable. And you know, if it's one of us who are in shape and forms within the music industry, and we're looking at one of the guys out in Africa, let's say Zimbabwe or Zambia or even Congo, where they don't know how to do the marketing, right? But we do know how to do the marketing. We can easily start popping them off more. So as they get more famous, the tracks that we already have and we already own are also accruing that constant value. But that goes exactly to what you said, Carl, with you know, we were always listening to stuff, and then 3 months later, people like banging it, and we're like, yeah, dude, I mean, come on, that's like old now.
Yeah, you're moving on to the next thing, and
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I could definitely see this being used as you know, some type of like release strategy, especially with artists. Like, you know, a lot of people do like the deluxe albums, so you might be able to, you know, even if you drop an album on, you know, all streaming platforms, you can even do a NFT deluxe or something like that, where it's like now the fans who are just listening to, you know, the Apple Music, they could go on and buy the NFT as well and have these unreleased songs that, you know, they know that is going to be valid and something that, you know, they could keep for themselves. So that's great too. And I also see this being used for producers. What do you see this platform as, you know, a place for producers?
So good question. So I guess that's kind of like two-phased, and I guess we could throw in like kind of just general DJs into that question as well. So from the producer side, producers can also sell their beats, right? That's standard. I mean, they're also musicians as everybody else is a musician. From a kind of DJ side, and how the platform could really work for them, not only for their own tracks, but when you're minting an NFT on Noizd, you have the options to mint the vocals, and then all the other stems, the backings, the full MP3, and then the full WAV raw master. And so basically, if you're a DJ who's looking to do a really hot remix, and you're like, wow, these vocals will fit my track really well, then you can just buy up those vocals, right? And basically, that once again benefits the artist, because suddenly you've got a DJ buying up the vocals to use in his track, and then everybody's like listening to that track, and it's like, okay, well, who's the artist behind the vocals, you know? That's kind of where it's in for kind of producers and DJs and that sort of thing. I mean, at the end of the day, right, it's basically kind of fluid for all musicians. And musicians can be anyone who makes music, right? I mean, at a stage, we're also going to be looking at sound effects artists who are really wanting to kind of push their sound effects out for movies and stuff like that. We got some great advisors from the film industry as well. So yeah, it's pretty much anyone who can make some form of noise that is musical. The platform is for, you know.
That's good. That's good.
And I like that whole NFT community because it's so powerful. Like as you're seeing with the whole VV community, they stick together, and it's an influential, powerful group, man. When you get into that community. Yeah,
man, you guys are crazy how close you guys are. I think I mentioned on Twitter earlier, like, you know, like I was always kind of, just because I've been very involved in blockchain since about 2016 or so, maybe a bit earlier, and for the past couple of months, I guess, as the NFT boom started to really hit off, and maybe even before that, like early or mid 2020, I started noticing Vivi and stuff. And then Robbie joined Telegram, and suddenly it was like, everybody started like popping on, and then our Twitter followers started being like all kind of VV oriented, and I just noticed like, wow, you guys are like super tight, but to the extent that it's like there's not like competition like there is on other platforms with Rarible, like like who's got the hottest stuff? Oh, F you, I got this, I got. Whereas like you guys are like, if someone cops something that's really dope, like everybody else is happy for them,
Yeah, for real.
We know how hard it is to get that, man. So it's just like, man.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
the energy, man, it really is.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy, and it's like I just thought it was so cool how kind of tight you guys really are, and the fact that you all kind of know each other and are like vibing with each other is like really cool, and that's really different, and that's something that is really special to us. That you guys have kind of brought us into your circle, right? Because it's just like there's so much like scammy stuff out there, where it's like you really got to have the strong kind of community feeling to be actually taken seriously, unless you got a bunch of like moon boys who are chasing a token who are like, when's moon, and so but into that community, and like Vivi's legit, Omi's legit, but there are other platforms where it's just not legit, right? And
I think that's also why we stick so close together, because we all see a lot of other platforms popping up, projects popping up, and we all kind of realize like it's kind of just part of the boom, and we all really believe deep down that Vivi is going to be the takeover eventually once everybody applies into license, etc. So I feel like, especially being so early involved, I feel like there could have been competition early, but I know for me, I wanted to make sure I spread the positive energy as early and often as possible to get that community rallying, and just feels like feels electric.
And real quick, I want to say, shout out to everybody that's in the chat right now, man. Ecomi fan, Pineapple Gang, we see y'all, man. We going crazy. And I also want to say this about the platform. I could also see this platform used as being, let's say, I'm an artist, or like, let's say somebody like Tory Lanez, right? And I know that he released a NFT project called like, Capsule. But imagine an artist like him puts out an acapella and a beat. Now he gives the artist who buys that NFT, the possibility to, add their own verse and mix it how they want to and kind of use it in a whole different way. That's why I like the way that you guys split up the records in the way that you do, so that you could kind of make the NFT, your own for real. So it's not just just the music track. It's like everything apart. So
yeah, dude. I like, and that kind of, I guess you kind of like hit the nail on the head. That kind of capability allows just for everybody to get skin in the game, so to say, right? And at the same time, everybody to enjoy from the same thing, but also everybody to have a piece of something valuable, and then everybody wants to kind of drive that value further, because it's just, there's just so much kind of like parts to it. But yeah, dude, I like, that's pretty much kind of nailed on.
So just to like, you're mentioning you had a lot of gaming devs or gaming peeps in your community and maybe your team. What do you see kind of like as far as like people, like I stream on YouTube, for instance, and I want some dope music, but like there's that hard line, man. It's like you can only play certain music, otherwise your video or your stream's not going to be monetized, and plus that, whoever owns that track could kind of come down on you if you continue to violate that. So I know on Twitch they had a big thing that just happened where, speaking to the gaming side, it was like these streamers had to like cut their content, and so do you know anything about that, or do you guys plan on solving like some of those problems or issues?
Yeah, for sure. So basically so I did an interview with New to Crypto guy a couple of weeks ago, maybe last week or the week before, and a similar question actually came up. And basically the answer is pretty simple, right? If you bought the rights to the track, it's your track. So play it in the background, play it wherever you want, right? And if you have the fractional rights to it, it's still your track. So that's pretty much it's pretty much saying like to the general restraint, like, and restricted industries, like, we don't really care about you, right? And that's why we're kind of, it's all decentralized now, so that's
Yeah.
pretty much,
Yeah, so as simple as that, I guess, right?
Yeah, dude, if you buy the rights, it's your track as though you were the guy who made the track.
Yeah, and that's so refreshing, man, especially being content creator, like, as I grow, it's like, yeah, like I want to have original music by these like really good artists, and it's hard. I've actually reached out to a music artist named by the name of Ollie. She had a big hit like a couple years ago. It was like, I think it was called like End of the Summer or something like that, blaring all over. It had like over 1 million plays. But I was messaging her. I'm like, yo, I see you're into VV. Like, do you have any copyright free music? Because I want to promote that music. And so she was like, yeah, I do. And so I played as much as that as I could, but I was so limited. I was like, yo, I want to play that hit that was like, lit back a couple years ago, and it's still pretty lit. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. We actually have so within our roadmap, we actually have another kind of iteration that's coming in a few months, which is because Noizd is a marketplace, we're also a community on the other side of things, where we're actually going to allow the possibility for collectors to create playlists that they can either provide people to listen for free, or they could provide an entry cost to those playlists. Once you've paid that entry cost of this playlist, let's say the entry cost is 0.01 ETH or whatever, right? Once you've paid that entry cost, there'll be the capabilities to either directly download that playlist or to stream it directly from Noizd. But you can stream that entire playlist from wherever you want, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's not, because you've actually bought paid access to that playlist, right? So that's like another iteration of the project, and that's also kind of, once again, how we're really integrating that community side into things. Because like, let's say you guys want to collab on a playlist, right? You've all bought, like, let's say 3 hot NFTs that you guys think are super hot, right? And you guys have all got your followers, and then you say, okay, cool, well, we're going to collab on a playlist together, and we're going to charge like 0.5 ETH or whatever for those for that playlist access. Then to anyone who buys it, right, you're actually enabling other people within the gaming community to have fresh music in the background. You're enabling whichever film producers who want to use that music to have that music there, right? Naturally, they don't have the royalty rights to it because they only have access to the playlist, but they can do that. But they can play that music wherever they want, right? So they also have kind of like skin in the game on that playlist, which is pretty, at least for us, that was kind of one of the things that we thought was pretty dope, in order to really kind of allow people within your situation, as like one of the many situations, to really be able to have cool music without any of those nonsense restrictions.
Right.
That fraction, I don't think it's ever been done in the music industry before, and bringing that into the music, it's almost like Bitcoin, bit of it, etc. All the cryptos. So bringing that into the music is going to be big time.
Yeah, man. Like that's there's just so much, man. There's just so many things that haven't been changed in this industry in so long, right? I mean, I think the first label was Columbia in like 1889 or something, and it's basically, since 1889, not much has changed, right?
Yeah, they've been running it.
Yeah, dude. It's an old industry, and it's just not changing. It's like the only industry that's just not changing, other than licensing houses kind of popping up, and
Yeah,
houses are just added on.
So
sorry,
just
Kyle.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was gonna say, like, so just to like, I don't know, where do you guys see like differentiate yourself a little bit from? Because I've seen projects pop up in the past, and maybe they were way too ahead of their time. Mims tried to, I think, come up with a music NFT platform, and I don't know how serious he was or where he's at. I think it's kind of an abandoned project. But like I said, he was kind of way before. He actually followed me on Twitter. I did a video on it a long time ago, and he ended up following me on Twitter, which was kind of cool. But where do you guys see yourself, like, differentiate yourself a little bit? I know from what I hear from you, I've already heard a lot of cool features that I don't know if I've heard of before. So anyways, could you talk about a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. So I think kind of there's 2 main differentiators. One would be our kind of heavy experience within the African market. just because that's one of the world's largest untapped markets. South America, to an extent, is also untapped to a certain extent, but not as much as Africa. You know, when people are thinking of Africa, they're thinking of like Burna Boy and Davido. That's maybe Ice Prince, I guess. And if you're in Africa, maybe you're thinking of Cassper Nyovest or AKA. But Africa in and of itself is a hugely untapped market. I think that our access to those musicians and also our understanding of those musicians and the understanding of the circumstance is something that allows us somewhat of an edge. Then with regards to the fact that we're actually focused on really selling the rights. So musicians don't have to sell the rights in Noizd. We encourage them to sell the rights simply because that allows the collector to have skin in the game, to really want that musician to grow, right? And you can also charge more money if you're selling the rights. So that's another big differentiator for us. There might be one or two other platforms who are doing something similar. I'm not too sure about that. And then I guess one of the other differentiators would be the team behind it. So you have myself. I've done a lot of stuff with Channel O, with Trace TV, MTV Base, also with Panda TV. And then I've got a whole big background in social media. I led up a bunch of agencies on the marketing side. But then next to me, there's also our devs team, our CTO. There's some of like, they've done some of the most amazing stuff within the blockchain kind of sphere in the past couple of months and years, right? So I think that those are kind of big differentiators. And then I guess, you know, just kind of being one of the few platforms that aren't launching like with a token and aren't launching a token pre-launch. And we're very much about, we will launch a token once the platform is going and there's money flow on the platform. And we will then do a retroactive airdrop to people who have been on our platform and been using our platform, right? Similar to what Uniswap did. And I think that that's a really big differentiator, to be honest, because a lot of these other platforms, I mean, like we've spoken about the music expertise, the artists and the devs team, but when it comes to like an actual token, there's just so many platforms that are like, yeah, buy the token, buy the token. Like the marketplace is going to come later. Yeah, it's going to come later. You know, the community is going to come later. And then it's like, all right, so buy the token. Everybody cashes out of the token and the project just dies, you know? So I guess those are kind of major differentiators, but I would love to get your guys' opinion on, you know, what you think is kind of unique about us. And if you think that there's anything that we should be considering or anything that specifically, you know, you guys as musicians and also on the gaming side of things, is there anything that you guys think that we're kind of neglecting or missing out, or that you'd like to see in the future?
Yeah, I would say in the future right now, like one of the biggest topics I like to talk about, even on my channel, is like the metaverse. You know, right now we're heading into an age that, you know, things are becoming different. The internet is becoming different. We're starting to, you know, have worlds instead of web browsers. So, you know, when it comes to things like, you know, the internet 2.0, where people are more avatars and icons, where do you see Noizd being you know, put into that type of world? How do you see, you know, music, you know, kind of switching over into that type of world?
So yeah, that's also a good question, and it's interesting that you asked that, because I was actually chatting to my co-founder about that a couple of months back when we originally started devs on the platform, and then I was chatting to a friend about that like 2 days ago, and I always just kind of had in the back of my mind of somehow being somehow, I mean, maybe it's a bit far-fetched, but somehow being the music provider for Decentraland. So if there's clubs in Decentraland, they're getting their music from Noizd artists, right? If there's, you know, at the casinos in Decentraland, the music that you're hearing, those casinos own music from Noizd artists. So with Noizd being like one of the, I guess, top providers and / maybe even only provider of music to Decentraland. And I thought that was just a really cool way to kind of bolster the bigger metaverse and just kind of put a really cool use case on NFTs, but a use case that is applicable specifically to the metaverse as well.
Because like even with the Travis Scott, you know, his concert with Fortnite, that really was like the gateway. And I looked even more into that. And even in like this one country, I think like with K-pop, they had 46 million people on the stream doing like, I think they was just doing like like a meetup. So I'm seeing that, you know, a lot more people are starting to have, you know, concerts within these type of metaverse style environments, you know. And the thing about that is, you know, because of everything that's been happening in this world, you know, people, you know, they do still come together, but it's also opened up the doors for people to, you know, feel comfortable going online and actually meeting up there and kind of experiencing, you know, music and concerts. Because you gotta think, like, concerts, the way that we see them now, it is very limited. You know, like, we're gonna look at these concerts like, wow, people was just all together huddled up just to see somebody smash small on the screen. But you know, when the metaverse happens, you could have the whole concert having a whole different feel because there's no real boundary to or limits to what you can do. You know, even with fashion shows, you know, I feel like fashion shows is another place where music is huge. You know, people release music, and the style and environment is something that adds to it. So I feel like, you know, definitely looking into metaverses and seeing how the music could kind of be, you know, distributed. And I like what you said, like hitting up these clubs in Decentraland, finding these different places where you can give your NFT music to them so that they already understand, like, all right, this is decentralized as well. This is something that we definitely want to put on our platform. We don't have to worry about anything from, you know, the music industry. Like, this is decentral, this NFTs.
Yeah, dude. Like, actually, surprisingly, the way that I got onto that convo with my mate the other day was actually to do with your track about the Marvel stuff.
Word.
On the Marvel drop, because I was like, imagine if there was like a Marvel fashion show or like a Marvel dress up party in like Decentraland sometime in the future, and then, you know, you just had like this Marvel track playing as like a Noizd NFT. It's like, yeah, that could be like pretty dope, you know.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, so, you know, that was just, I mean, just as a side, I should have actually remembered that as you started talking. But
No,
yeah,
that's lit, though. That's lit.
yeah, man, yeah.
Yeah, that's what the if back to Ollie, the music artist, she was in, I think, Somnium, and she was like throwing a party in there, and you know, everybody was in their avatars and stuff, so it was kind of cool.
Oh,
But
that's
like,
tough.
whether it's Decentraland or one of the, you know, Sandbox and all that stuff, like either way, it's cool, right? And what was cool too is like you could hear, like, you know, you'd see other people running around, but you could hear them spatially. So if you got close to them, the closer you got, you know, you can hear them. So I think there's like the element back with what It's Wonderful, Non-Fungible, aka Pineapple. What he was saying was you know, with concerts and everything, it's like, you know, we can still capture that energy in the metaverse. So I think that's cool.
Yeah, dude, for sure. And it's like, you know, I think that what's so great about the I guess just the general blockchain community, if you want to look at it like that, or I mean, you could also call it the general metaverse community, is that, as you said, you know, there was a dumb amount of people like from Korea who were attending that concert, that although that was on Fortnite, right? That's just kind of a first glimpse as to where we're going in the future, where this kind of stuff is no longer kind of on Fortnite, but is on different kind of metaverse-based platforms, and it's just like growing and growing and growing and growing, right? Because
Yeah.
like,
Right, anytime soon.
yeah, dude, like 10 years ago, if someone told you that there's going to be a concert in a video game with one of the world's biggest celebrities and it's going to be attended by hundreds of thousands of people, you're going to tell that person to go jump, you know? Whereas now it's like, it's just so realistic, and it's so realistic that it's going to be millions of people in a couple of years. And if you can have, at least from our perspective, from a Noizd perspective, if you were able to have a concert where it's got like avatars of these amazing unsigned artists, and with unreleased tracks, and they're having this like massive concert in wherever, whether it's Decentraland or somewhere else, you know, that's something that's like really special, right? Because it's like you have just this mad amount of like exposure that the artists are really gaining from. But at the same time, you have something that's really special for the general community, that they're getting, like, they're able to partake in something that's kind of, I guess, ecosphere changing with regards to kind of the places where we live, right? In this blockchain community, the NFT community, and you know, and it's just like, I think that stuff is so great, you know.
And we have a quick question too as well from Crypto Crayons. Shout out to Crypto Crayons, man. But he has this question if you want to answer it.
Yeah. With black coffee, yeah, man. So a lot of people don't know black coffee. I wasn't expected to have this question. But is there a link with Noizd? So no, there is no link with Noizd. It would be cool to actually look into that. I had no idea that black coffee was getting involved in that. Actually, there was a talk, or it's coming up. It's actually this evening, I believe, that's got to do with African NFTs or NFT use cases throughout Africa or something. And I think Black Coffee might be one of the speakers there. But no, to sum it up, no, there's no kind of link to Noizd at the moment. But that would be something that's pretty cool.
Or definitely. Thank you for answering that. But yeah, man, I definitely feel like, there's a lot of space right now for, the metaverse, for the blockchains. I like what you guys are doing with, splitting up the different tracks. And I feel like, what are you guys' plans for marketing? How do you feel like, this will go in the next couple of months? When do you see yourself releasing this app? When do you see it opening up for everyone to start using?
Yeah, so we had a bit of a setback. We were supposed to release this month. We are currently planned to release at the end of July. We've been working pretty hard since about could be March 29th or March 25th, around there. Yeah, so we should be launching in about end of July, so let's say 4 to 5 weeks time. We started our pre-launch. Our pre-launch is basically just to kind of start onboarding people now, but so we also have kind of a link with the pre-launch that if you actually sign up now, you get a free Noizd NFT, and it's just to kind of say thank you to people who are really wanting to kind of sign up now and be part of the platform. So that's kind of when we're launching the next 4 to 5 weeks. I don't want to cement anything down and say that's definite, because then people always hold that knife to your neck and be like, yeah, dude, what you said, 4 to 5 weeks, But I can safely say within the next 6 weeks we will be launched. But I'm going to say 4 to 5 weeks, because that's what we discussed in our devs meeting a couple of days ago. With regards to the marketing side of things, so yeah, we've onboarded quite a bunch of people. There's a whole lot of artists who have signed up from the various countries in Africa, also from the UK, from Ireland. We got 1 or 2 from the States as well. We're focusing very much on having kind of an all Africa launch for the beginning, with artists representing certain countries throughout Africa. Just as I said, that that's kind of the hardest hits market with regards to industry nonsense. Once that's done, we're going to start onboarding artists within about, I would say, a week and a half to 2 weeks after the initial launch. And then with regards to further marketing, we're doing a lot of stuff, just kind of community management, community building. We're doing a lot of the standard kind of mainstream stuff. We've got some YouTube ads running. We got a bunch of Facebook social media ads running. And then we're doing stuff like this, chatting with guys like you. We're on it to
just out of curiosity, you said you kind of been looking at the VV community. I don't know if you heard of Ray Fixie yet, or.
Oh yeah.
No, someone mentioned in
I think he's from Africa, and he's got music. So. Yeah.
No, I haven't. But someone mentioned that either on Telegram or on Twitter a couple of days ago. But I actually need to check that out. But
I was just wondering if you've heard of him. He's been up on the VV.
Around.
Yeah, he's been meddling around big time with the VV app. So
yeah, no,
he's making a name for himself. And I did my research. I'm like, who is this guy? So I checked him out a little bit and discovered he had music and stuff on YouTube and things like that. So
is he making a good name for himself or not a good name for himself?
Right. No, he's making a good name. He kinda.
Yeah, I guess it just depends on who you talk to, So like Crypto Keki likes him, and I don't have enough to say anything bad about him. You know what I'm saying? So I think he's fine. I think he's cool. So.
Oh, cool. I mean, if he makes good music, I'd be honored to have him on Noizd as well. I think someone just mentioned that he comes from Kenya, Kenya is one of my favorite countries.
Yeah, that's right. I remember now.
Noizd ago. I would say about a week before I heard about you guys. Crypto Kagi, he's been telling me about Noizd, this new platform, and then you like, oh, okay, let's do it.
Yeah, man, nice, cool. Yeah.
Definitely taking up the game, man. I see a lot of great things coming from this.
Yeah, because even I feel like the strategy that Ray is using with the VV platform, if somebody, let's say somebody kind of did that with the music, that would be good if they like, yo, this artist is underrated right here. Yo, you need to raise his price. Yo, you need to raise your price up to 4 ETH or 5 ETH or 10 ETH or something like that. You know, it could kind of help artists to even, you know, value themselves a little bit higher and, you know, kind of give their worth in a different way.
Yeah, exactly. So like that's one of the things that is kind of in our so it's in our about section on the side, and it kind of like encapsulates what we're trying to do is we're wanting to let artists value themselves, right? We don't need a streaming platform to say that, you know, you're worth 0.02 cents per stream, right? We don't need a stream. Like, I mean, it's like, who the hell are you to tell me what I'm worth, right? We don't need Columbia Records to say you're worth $40,000 and you're going to give us 5 albums and we're going to make 15 million off of you, right?
Yeah.
Like, as the artist, you know, it's like, we want to say, this is what we're worth. This is what we are selling our tracks for. And if you think we're worth that, buy it. If you don't think we're worth that, great. And we'll wait until someone thinks we're worth that. Otherwise, we'll relook at ourselves and maybe judge our worth differently, right? But it's all about empowering fully empowering that artist instead of them having to be told what they're worth, right? That's kind of, why we really kind of focusing on that side of things.
Do you see yourself? Do you see you going into like the podcast lane too, as well, or kind of strict?
So,
because I know that's like a whole nother lane, like area ballpark game.
Yeah. To be honest with you, not right now. So in the beginning, so we started devs towards the end of March, and we were really thinking of like, okay, well, this is what we want to do. We want to sell the rights to unreleased music for independent artists who are really good, which is also why we're doing why we're curating our platform, right? You actually have to submit your music for us to listen to it first. And then we started thinking, okay, well, what else can we use the framework of our platform to do? It's like, yeah, podcasts would be cool. Be really dope to have indie films. Imagine like a way that you can just kind of bypass, you know, all of these dumb film studios and you could just snap up the rights to films, right? I mean, that's kind of like what Netflix is going at. And then we looked at, you know, like, can we do investments into like coffee shop revenues, you know, via fractionalized NFT like revenue mine. So there's just so many things that we like wanted to do, and we started losing a bit of focus, and we're like, okay, we really need to nail back down to selling the rights to release music.
Yeah, and I also think this could be used for like, you know, audiobooks and informational type things. You know, it's like, you know, people like Amazon, for example, they started off as a book company. You know, Noizd, I feel like that could be a good place for, you know, information as well, because, you know, with information, like let's say like one of these audio books that tell you about, you know, how to make something or how to run certain business. You know, that could be
how to buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, how to buy Bitcoin or how to do NFTs or something.
How to buy music NFTs from Noizd.
Yeah, it's like somebody could, you know, download that, learn from it, and actually have that as an NFT, and even, you know, sell that as well. So that could be another use case for, you know, the platform as well.
Yeah, for sure. And that's there's just so many, which is what's really cool about NFTs, right? So like what VV is doing is super different to what the other, like when people are thinking of NFT marketplaces, they're thinking of Rarible, super rare, you know, so and like really along the digital art. What VV is doing is really different, right? What we're trying to do is really different, and we're trying to like put these really dope use cases on NFTs. And so what you're talking about now with audiobooks or podcasts, et cetera, those are really cool use cases. And that's why I just think that, you know, the I guess if you want to call it the NFT industry, although that's not like, I don't like that whole industry word, but the NFT kind of, yeah, you know, so like, it's just that the NFT community has just got so much like space to evolve, because there's just so many different things, you know, there's just so many different things that can really pop up and be done, and it's really got to do with ourselves and our imaginations of how we really want to start doing those things, which I think is just so cool. So yeah, you know, like I would love to say that eventually, yeah, you know, Noizd is going to be the home of like audiobooks, it's going to be the home of where you can sell lyrics, you can sell individual lyrics, you can sell whatever that contributes to, I guess, some form of noise, or like some form of noise. That's yeah, man. So I would love to say that that's where we're gonna be eventually, but that's, I guess, it's one foot in front of the other, right?
Baby steps. Yeah,
Yeah, baby steps.
Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah, I think it'd be even cool to have something like totally out of the box, like, eventually where, you might get an audio clip of like Tom Brady, like throwing a pass or something or calling a play. Like that's like obviously like, future stuff, but like anything like just random like that, I think that would be cool. Like you said, anything audio or something like that,
yeah, exactly. Like I actually had a company a while back that I was starting, and basically you could get a celebrity to sing happy birthday to someone, right? So we had a bunch of influencers that we were lined up with, and like we never actually went to, I think we went to market with maybe 10 or 15 people, and then another company in the States started doing it. But we had like guys like Vitali and from like Vitalized TV and whatever, and basically it was like we had them record a whole bunch of like happy birthday messages and happy birthday songs, and then we would just someone would tell us who they want to say happy birthday to, we would feed the name into this recording, and then it was like, oh, you have this guy singing happy birthday. But now with like what you just said, there's the beauty of NFTs, right, where that can be all hyper personalized, where it doesn't need to be a whole bunch of pre-recordings, right?
Right.
So yeah, man, exactly what you said. Like I would love to have that sort of stuff eventually, where it's like, you got someone calling plays, or imagine what Germany's coach was saying, or Germany's manager was saying tonight when they lost to England, right?
Exactly. Even if it was just like terrible cuss word, cussing, like somebody wants to own that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Yeah, exactly. So, and like nobody else can hear it until that person releases it, right?
Yeah.
And we have a question from Crypto Khaki.
Yeah. How easy would it be for the up and coming artists to pick up on this music? How much work needs to be done before the app? So the first part of the question, let me see if I understand this. Okay. So first part is easy. Basically, because it's going to be curated by us from the beginning, you'll be presented with a Google form. So once you sign up, you can sign up today, noizd.com. Basically, you sign up as an artist. Then as soon as we launch, which will, as I said, be in the next 5 weeks, 4 to 5 weeks, you'll have to do a bit of KYC. So you basically need to register yourself as an official artist to just prove that you are the person with these tracks and you actually own the rights to these tracks. And then you would send us your tracks via the Google form. It would be good if you sent the bare minimum is the mastered WAV file, as well as an MP3. And then also a snippet of that track. We recommend no longer than 15 to 20% of that track. And then we'll put you in line, and we will basically upload that for yourself. You obviously need your MetaMask hooked up. And yeah, it's as easy as that. You send us the track and it goes up. As I said, it's highly curated just because we don't want to flood it with too many things all at once. So there is a line. We also don't want our platform to crash, but yeah, tracks will go up. It's pretty easy, man. And then yeah, as we progress, we will allow you to pretty much do that yourself, as long as you're as long as you've done your KYC and you're a registered artist. You'll just be able to upload it then and there. But as I said, that's in a few months away. But yeah, feel free to start sending your tracks. Yeah, man. In fact, please do.
Ease of use, I think, how it's like frictionless and everything, and just buy up in the marketplace. I think that's going to be huge for you guys. The easier it is to use, the more people are going to want to use it.
Yep.
Yeah. That's why we're doing the whole curation thing. We also have like a concierge service. Concierge is also a dumb name, but basically, if you need help with anything, drop us a mail and we'll run you through. Because of the type of artists that we're working with, coming from like the various African countries and the South American countries, etc. A lot of this kind of tech is not really known in that world. So basically, yeah, man, if you need help, email us and we'll guide you through the process. We'll help you set up your MetaMask. We'll tell you exactly what to do for your KYC. We'll help onboard you. We're basically, you know, what the other platforms aren't necessarily doing is we really want to be like the solid foundation for the community, right? So if you need help, reach out to us and we'll help you, whether you're a terrible artist or you're the best artist, right? I mean, that's up for others to decide, but we'll help you either way. If you're a collector, we'll do the same, right? That's pretty much, we want to be there for everybody.
That's another thing I noticed, that you guys are just tapping in with the community on Twitter and everything, and that's something I think goes a long way. It's something that Vivi does well, and it separates them. And the fact that you guys are tapping in with everybody, it goes a long way for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, dude, it's like, I guess, gotta be humble, right? You like, as soon as you start thinking too much of yourself, then it's like you're gonna be too much of other people, right?
As soon as you start be humble, life will humble you, man.
Yeah, dude, like, you know, we want to be like kind of the Kendrick Lamar / Joyner Lucas of platforms, right? We don't need to be the Kanye of platforms. You know, like, no shade to Kanye. I mean, I've been a super fan of Kanye since graduation. Yeah, you know, so that's, yeah, man, you got to be humble. You got to be there for the community. And, you know, it's just so great being able to also just like kind of chat with you guys and get your guys' perspectives and like a few guys in the Telegram who've also mentioned like, hey, you know, we'd love to see this, we'd love to see that. Someone recently actually brought up in the previous interview that I did with New to Crypto guy, they brought up the whole thing of, you know, are you guys going to be allowing straight a cappella? And at that stage, we hadn't even thought of that. And since that question was asked, we've run that through devs, and yes, that will now be on the MVP in the very beginning. So it's just like kind of that great. And, you know, like if we weren't talking to the community, we wouldn't know that the community wanted stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Which is, yeah, you know, and you're right, Vivi does that amazingly. And I guess that's why you guys are so, you know, loyal to your guys' communities, and why you guys have managed to create these communities around you. I mean, you guys have got people who are crazy about you, right? And it's, you know, it's because Vivi itself has done a really great job with being there for everybody. And now you guys are, in essence, the brand ambassadors, right? Without even being the official brand ambassadors. Ropes, you know, like that's cool. You know, I was away in Turkey recently, and I was bumping your Marvel track. I really liked it.
All right, thank you.
What's this line, man?
Yeah, man, like that track, man. Like when I heard that beat, man, it was really speaking to me, man.
Yeah, dude, where did you get that beat? Did you make that beat?
Nah, I didn't make that beat. It's funny that you said that you was thinking of a fashion show, because I literally got that from Travis Scott Dior fashion show. So I sampled it. Like, it just came out that same day that I made it. So I just sampled it from the beginning, chopped it up, and just rapped on it. That's why I kept it short, because I didn't really have the full beat. You feel me? So I kept it short real quick. Boom.
Bro, you kept it short, but you got some good lines in there, man.
All right, thank you. Yeah, and I got another track dropping tomorrow. And tomorrow's actually my birthday as well. But I got this.
Gotta send Pineapple Gang all pineapple.
All right.
Yeah, I run around the house saying I got NFTs, and I end up saying Master Collector.
Master Collector,
I'm after, and my wife's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Nothing."
I can't wait for that Master Collector, man.
Bro, are you like dropping tracks kind of like weekly or daily? Because I mean, there's just so much coming out lately.
Yeah, because I've been making music since I was like in middle school. So it's like, you know, when it comes to me and my music background, you know, I came from, you know, this town that gave me, you know, computers at a young age. So we were able to use like GarageBand and all this stuff. So, you know, I was like doing music early on because my brothers, they taught me how to use like FL Studio and how to mix. And over the years, you know, I've been doing music since I was a kid. So, and I was even writing music before I was even recording music. So it's like when it comes to like music with me, it's just one of those things that, you know, it's just in me. So it's like every day I could just go on this computer right here, change up the mic. This is the mic I record on, and I just mix everything as I go along and just, you know, keep it like that. So I make a song, and like even like the song I put out yesterday, the Kanye Diamond Hands remix. You know, I made that the same day, just put it out real quick. Today I'm about to work on one. You know, it's like I could make songs pretty quick. And I used to work in studios a lot. So I used to do sessions every day. So I used to go to the studio and just be doing sessions all day. So
Bro,
it's like,
like,
yeah, so it's like, yeah, so it's like with music, also I had a pretty big wave with music, especially in New Jersey, because I've been doing like gang, and there's so much that was just happening with that whole era, and now it's a different era now. It's like NFTs and blockchain. That's where my head is, that's where my space is, because I really see the benefits for the future of this world and where we're headed at. So I'm hype about this.
Yeah, like, can I ask you something? Like, are you already preparing tracks for Noizd? Because we're gonna have to have you on Noizd, right?
Oh yeah. No, I'm like, it's not even preparing. It's just like I'm kind of getting in the mindset for it. So it's like, like right now, I need to figure out which beats, because it's like with me, the main thing is the beats. It's like I gotta find the right beats, like, to really do what I gotta do. So right now, I've been talking to a lot of producers. They've been sending me stuff here and there. So like, I definitely want to have certain tracks that can be on Noizd. But with those tracks, I'm still like building out my approach to it based on like where I can see it being, based on it being an NFT. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Are you selling are you selling your tracks as NFTs on other platforms, like as just collectibles, like no rights? Like, have you gone into that or not?
I haven't done it yet, just because I still want to take the right approach. You know what I mean? So it's like I kind of want to make sure I do it the right way. So I need to kind of see the vision for it in terms of like where I'm gonna be with the music in like a year or a couple years. So it's like that's why I haven't really been releasing too much music on like these NFT platforms, because I don't want to like do it and then just like not stick with it or something.
Yeah, for sure. And Johnny, I mean, I was listening to some of your tracks as well. I think like they were from like, I think either 2019 or 2017. I couldn't really remember.
I don't have the experience like Pineapple does, man. I just started making music out of nowhere in 2018. And it was really because I was doing podcasts for this business I started, and the podcasts just weren't fun to me. It was a lot of work I was doing. I just wasn't having fun. I was like, what can I do to kind of separate myself, to kind of stand out? And I was like, what if I made a song? And randomly used the podcast mic I had there to make a song, and I fell in love with it, man. I had no experience with anything, and then I started hanging out with one of my friends who was recording in a real studio. And once I saw all that happen, I was like, yeah, this is for me. I love this. So I'm still learning a lot, man. That's why I love Pineapple Gang, man, because he's got all the experience that I need, and I'm trying to be a sponge and learn from him.
All right, I got you, bro.
Yeah, man. I mean, that is like when you got a guy like you who's releasing tracks just like all the time, there's definitely so much that people can just sponge off of, and that energy is crazy. And I love the fact how it's like, bro, everybody in your guys' community is like already like starts bumping those tracks, but it's like then there's a new one like 4 days later. It's like, all right, on to the next.
Yeah, bro, that's how it is. I'm like, I just got done like knowing the words to this one, and there's already another one out. Like, dang, yeah. It does remind me of my high school days where I was like getting those beats, and we call them back then we called them fresh cuts, man. You got them fresh cuts?
Word.
I know you got them fresh cuts, so we'd be like hiding them from each other. Nah, bro. Oh, those good times, man. By the way, is that a real pineapple in the background there? You got to buy a new one every other week.
Yeah, man. I stay with the real pineapples, man. You know what I mean? You got to keep them fresh, man. That's what
do you eat the pineapple after it gets like right?
Yeah, sometimes. You know what I mean? Sometimes I might just do a little, let it get old, let it do its thing. Yeah, yo.
But guys, like I was meaning to ask you guys, like, how come you guys got into NFTs? Just out of curiosity. I mean, like, I don't know, like, have you guys had a lot of blockchain experience before, or a lot of NFT experience? I mean, like, for myself and my team, I did a lot of stuff with like Icon and ICX and my CTO. I told you guys they're big blockchain developers, but I'm always interested into like how a lot of guys who aren't necessarily from that world in particular got involved in the stuff. Like, what really attracted you guys to Vivi, and I guess the general NFT. And I may be ignorant, like maybe you guys have been involved in blockchain since God knows.
Yeah, I can go real quick. I knew about Bitcoin when it first came out, and you know, I was like almost mined it, and you know, I actually did mine a little bit of it, and then I just deleted everything because I was like, yo, this is a what if I get a virus? You know, I was like, I was like really young, you know, I was like 14 or 13 or however old I was. So I kind of knew, like, you know, there's like this digital currency in the background. And then fast forward to like 2017, I started like seeing like just average Joes start talking about Bitcoin. So, and then so I knew a lot about, you know, started learning a lot about blockchain in 2017, and really kind of started my YouTube channel around then. And platforms like Engine, I mean, obviously with what Mims was trying to do, and I was picking it all up, and I saw the future. You know, I literally was like the internet being created all over again in a different way. And so I knew what, you know, I was looking at Cardano when it was like not even a penny, and, you know, knew that was going to be big. And so it just really inspired me to get involved and, you know, do videos and educate people. And even back then, you try to tell somebody about blockchain or NFTs, it's just kind of like, they're like, you said what? And but
Yeah.
so nowadays, you know, it's a lot easier. And I knew eventually that, you know, there'd be a better way to do things. And, you know, like NFTs was just the natural evolution of literally everything. I could see literally like collectibles, but obviously you see like concert tickets, or, you know, you drive up to a McDonald's and you scan your QR code, and pops in a collectible in your wallet or your MetaMask or whatever. So that's kind of my background. That's where I did a lot of, like I said, a lot of like project reviews in the past, and kind of got out of crypto from the toxicity, and then
Yeah.
SEC was kind of trying to figure out, like, governments are always so slow when there's new technology and they don't know how to regulate it, and especially when it came to crypto. So I got out for a while, and then NFTs brought me right back in, man. As soon as I learned about VV, I was like, yo, this is going to be big. And the rest is kind of history on that. So as Johnny Dunn knows,
Word.
we did that interview that long time ago. So
Crazy. It
Well, I
feels
watched that interview.
yeah.
Yeah, because when I was watching it, Johnny he was reminding me of myself a lot, because it was just kind of like me, you know, I knew about Bitcoin, I knew about Ethereum, but I never really was into it. But, you know, right before I had my kid, like, I literally just put like $100 into like Stellar or something, right, or XLM, and then like I looked at it a year later, and I had like $800, right, and I just put like a little bit of bread, and I was like, what the heck? Like, I didn't even know that this was gonna happen. So, you know, I kind of was dibbling dabbling, and then when I moved, you know, my brother-in-law, he was telling me like, yo, you need to get into Dogecoin, you need to get Doge. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna check out some Dogecoin. And then the day that, you know, I got it at like 5 cents, and it started shooting up. And I was like, yo, this is crazy. So then when I found out about Vivi, I was just like, yo, it reminded me of Doge a little bit. And that's kind of how I got into NFTs. It was kind of just like I went directly from Doge to Vivi and NFTs, and just I put all the money from XLM, all the money from Doge into Vivi. Like, so it's like that's what just got me sparked about it. And like I couldn't really stop talking about it, because like Kyle said, like I was seeing the future with it, and I was seeing like all of these different things and possibilities, especially with the way that, you know, people interact and the way that the world was changing, because, you know, everything started shutting down. And I saw how Zoom was getting so big, and just the online digital world. And when you watch a movie like Ready Player One, you see how, you know, you could earn money on the internet, but it's that real life money that you can use as well. So, you know, and that's also like the property now. It's like property is digital, but it's physical kind of at the same time. You know what I mean? It's something that you could actually own in the real world. So that's why I got into it.
It's electric, man. Once you start talking about it and going down the rabbit hole, people are like, "How you're like you can't stop talking about it." I'm like, I can't. Like, it's so crazy. For me, crazy story. I found Bitcoin too. Like Kyle said, mad early, but I wasn't really into it. Like Pineapple was saying, like I think it was $50 a coin, and I remember saying, like, if this blows up, the world would be in a bad place. I'm not gonna get into it. Get into it, man. That was like 2013 maybe ish, and I found NBA Top Shot like end of 2020, and I was laughing at it. I was like, "There's no way this is a real thing. Like, you can't buy moments that I'm watching on YouTube." Like, I didn't get it. Didn't get it all. Watched it all in January. February, I'm like, okay, too many people are talking about this. What is an NFT? Let me dive into it. So up until like 2021 early, I still didn't get NFTs really. And then my parents found my Pokemon cards. I'm start diving through my Pokemon cards. People are telling me it's a couple thousand, you know, I got. I'm like, how's this a couple thousand? I didn't know collectibles. I didn't know blockchain, man. So I'm doing so much research, first edition, all this stuff, and I'm learning so much. And right at that time is how I stumbled into VV. And everything just made sense to me all at once. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the blockchain NFTs mixed with collectibles. I'm seeing Batman on the cover. That's like one of the only like comic things I got into as a kid was Batman. So like when I saw Batman, I was like, this is for real. This is like the real thing.
Yeah.
So I'm diving down the rabbit hole. Who's Alfred Kahn? I didn't know any of these people. What's Tony? I was so mentally drained after the month of like March because I had to learn so much where people don't believe me. Like I just got into this space. I got into it so heavy, so early. Not so early, but like right when I found it, I just dove deep down the rabbit hole and tried to learn as much as I could. I'm still learning. But
yeah, and I think like with Vivi, we all had that one moment too where, you know, like the movie Limitless, where the guy like pops the pill, the Limitless pill, and it's like, right. That's kind of like what Vivi does. It's like you pop the Vivi pill, and it's just like,
yeah, for real, yo.
So I actually signed up to VV like only a couple weeks ago, and it's really cool. I was surprised that it's so I did a bunch of research into it. I was surprised at the money flow on the market, and it's like repeated money flow as well. So it's like it looks as though the buyers who are buying are the ones who are actually continuously supporting that. And like I saw that. So that I think it was the DeLorean or something, where like 89,000 of them sold out within 30 minutes with between $30 to $90, just like averaged out. Like if you said, okay, we averaged out to $45, that's like $805,000 within 30 minutes. That's crazy. And then what was further into that is it looked as though the community is so solid and believes so much into these rare collectibles, which they are, because they're just sick, and like, you know, the rights that they have and the partnerships are awesome.
Yeah,
they just believe so much into them that it's really driving the platform forward, which I think is really cool. And it's kind of very different to a lot of the other platforms where it's just a bunch of hype boys buying up whatever just to buy up whatever, right? There's actual kind of value here. And like, I thought the partnerships that VV's done are like incredible. I mean, I've always been a bit of like a, you know, comic-y type of guy, but I thought that the partnerships are just like really, really cool. That's something that we're so focused on with Noizd as well, was looking into the partnership companies that we're working with and looking at the advisors that we're kind of bringing on or trying to bring on, you know. And I just thought that was like really cool about VV. I mean, obviously it's very different because like our type of partnerships will be more in an advisory role of like how to support various industries like gaming or whatever. But I think like what VV's doing is really, really cool, dude. But I couldn't believe the amount of money flow on the market. That it's like, it's insane. I think there was something like 40 million worth of revenue turned in the past like 5 weeks or something. If I read it correctly, that's crazy.
Yeah, they made 40 million.
Yeah, dude, that's mad. And you know, it's all pretty much from your guys' followers, which is like, you know, there's a lot of repeat buyers there. They're virtually all.
Because the thing is, it's like, you know, when we joined super early, so it was like 15,000 users. I remember being one of the first 15,000. Right now, after that Marvel announcement, it's probably up to 400 to 500,000 users at this point. So it's like the type of growth that they have is exponential. And at the same time, you know, the way that they do their releases, you know, it's very smart. Like, you know, I've been reading through, you know, their Medium articles and seeing how they create different pressure from a whole bunch of different aspects of the project. So with the drop days, with how many collectibles they release, with the type of things that they do with the collectibles, like they're about to start doing gaming. You know, once the first gaming NFTs come out or they add that feature, those prices are going to go crazy. So they know how to create different pressures, you know. So that's the thing about VV. It's like, you know, somebody was arguing with me in the comments the other day, like, oh, they're not a technology company. But it's like with technology, it's all about, you know, how to make things work. It's about how to create a certain structure to, not only mechanics and technology, but also business as well. So, I feel like they have a lot of great minds that help create, that business where, it's very profitable and something that's major right now.
Yeah, like I mean, I'm a little bit shocked that someone would say that it's not a technology company. I think any company that is using technology to forward a certain sector can consider themselves a technology. But also the stuff that Vivi's working on in their roadmap, and also the stuff that it allows you to do, they've really been working on that kind of like VR tech, which seems really, really sick. They've made some really good tech decisions as well that with that hyper focus on mobile, right? That's very kind of thought through on the tech level, which is also really cool, right? Because suddenly you're pairing with the type of cameras that are built in on phones, right? And so I truly think it's very much a tech company. But yeah, dude, I like, it's pretty weird. Someone was telling you that.
Yeah, for real.
But in general, it's just like, dude, it's so kind of like, at least from my perspective, revolutionary from like what they're doing with regards just to general NFTs. But it's like, I'm hoping that we will also get that within our sector of Noizd. I mean, I would dig to partner with Vivi, which would be like awesome if you had Noizd music somehow within VV drops or something. That would be dope. But I mean, I'm not going to get my hopes up on that just yet. Hopefully in a couple of months, a year or 2 years or so. But yeah, dude, it's crazy. Like VV is a crazy company, and they've just done like, well, I was doing so much research into it. I really like also kind of the way that they've really integrated the whole gamification within it with regards to, like common, uncommon, rare, super rare, right? That's something that's like harking back to our childhoods with regards to Pokemon or like Magic the Gathering, where it's like, that's a very well done conscious decision to really put like value that accrues on their collectibles, because their collectibles are really sick, right? And I think that just everything that they're doing from the marketing side, I mean, that is a very conscientious marketing decision that they've done there. But that also leads into the tech side, which is like crazy with what they're doing there, right? It's just like so cool. And like from my perspective, they're one of the few platforms where like we as Noizd can say they're really nailing it on the head with the use cases that they're bringing in, which I think is really cool. And you can't really say that about so many of the platforms, because so many of them, it's like digital art, like everywhere you look, it's digital art. I mean, and obviously, like OpenSea in and of itself is its own kind of use case. Nifty Gateways, I mean, that's kind of one of the old school legends, NBA Top Shop, CryptoKitties. Those were kind of like, I guess, godfathers, so to say. But everything else that's kind of spanned out this year, it's
I
just
remember
like
CryptoKitties, man.
Yeah, man,
Word.
All the crypto guys were like, "You said what's clogging up the Ethereum network? CryptoKitties." And you couldn't send Ethereum for nothing. You're waiting. It just bogged down the whole network, and fees were like they are today, just insane.
Hey, what's good, Cavell?
Yo, what up, Cavell?
Hey, what's up?
And that's the thing, like the crypto,
And then
David and all them, they saw that going on, and that's what inspired them in 2017. So like you were saying about how you guys have a great team behind you, and the partnerships are key. That's what's so crazy about David and Alcon and these people who work at Vivi and Dan, because the partnerships, they're able to get these partnerships and licenses like nobody else has ever did before. Like they cornered the market, got licenses. They don't have to get new fans. They're just going to use the fans of all the brands IP that they already have, and boom. Like
yeah, like, and like what's amazing is, it's like the partners that they have are like incredible. Like that's mad, right? But it's also like now Marvel has so much skin in the game to push Vivi, right? So their fans are just going to go, because now people who are like, it's going to be a matter of time before Marvel is like releasing, I guess, kind of like very rare kind of done comic strips that are done in cool VR on Vivi, right? And so you're going to have a bunch of like Marvel fanboys who are like, yeah, I got to get to Vivi because I can only read that part of the comic on Vivi, and there's going to be like probably, probably there will be. If there isn't, it's a good idea, so they should do it. But there'll probably be like a bunch of like separate stories where you got to, and they're all collectibles, but you can only read the full story once you have them all together, right? And it's just, it's like.
Or somebody was saying like the Infinity Stones. It's like, I can't remember. I think it might have been, I don't know if it was Crypto Far West or it was somebody on Twitter. They're like, it'd be cool if you could collect each stone. And then once you do, you get the gauntlet. And if you sell one of the stones, like it incompletes, I'd be like, that'd be dope,
Bro, like that would be that, like, it's just stuff like that is just so cool. But that's also got to do with, like Vivi is the only marketplace that can offer that, right? There aren't any other. At least to my knowledge, there aren't any of the other NFT marketplaces that could offer something like that. So although that's just like a hypothetical thing, that's a really dope thing that Vivi could easily do, right?
Yeah.
And even with the way that Vivi does, their ultra rares, commons, I even feel like that could be even a good strategy for, albums. Let's say you have an album that you release and one of the songs might have, 1,000 downloads. One of them might have 50 downloads, but to complete the whole album, you can
unlock the rest of it or something.
Yeah, so you can keep it like limited and certain things like that. So it's like, if you have the playlist and different people own different tracks, they could kind of put it together like that because one person might own, and if you start selling that playlist, certain people could get a certain percentage off of that. So I feel like that could even be used, for the platform as well.
Yeah, for sure. Like we were like, in fact, if you have any good ideas on that, please hit me up on Telegram. But I would just like to run past you with what we were thinking, so you could tell me if you think it's like a dope idea or not. But what we were kind of thinking of rushing into the MVP now was basically that we would have something where it's kind of like common, rare, super rare type of thing. But basically everybody who releases a track starts on common, right? And the more kind of likes or hearts or streams that snippet gets, the more that you rise to uncommon, and et cetera. And basically, if you hit to super rare, right, where you have got a bunch of like, people playing your snippets and buying your stuff, then we would suggest as Noizd directly to you, the artist, that you should probably throttle the amount of NFTs that you're releasing, because you actually have got stuff that people are really coveting. So that was just an idea that we were having. I'd love to get your guys' thoughts, but also David, like if you have any other thoughts along that line, please hit me up on Telegram, because it's really something that we're looking at, and something that like Vivi actually has kind of inspired, because we just feel that that's a really good way to show value of artists. Also to people who can't necessarily afford their NFTs, right? I mean, an artist might say it's for $100, might say it's for 10,000. I've got no idea, but it's a good way for being able to show people like, I've already picked up something that's valuable. And then once again, it kind of validates whether or not you have a good ear for artists. But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on
I like
on
that a lot. It kind of brings the whole gamification aspect inside of it as well. So
right, yeah. It's like encourages you to, as a collector, to pick it up on the on the early. You know what I'm saying? So like that would excite me to not only to collect early, but to listen to what's on the platform. You know what I mean? So like, going back to my high school days, like I was listening to stuff real early, trying to get that, trying to be, whatever. And I think there's an excitement to that, so it's like with Vivi, I know we're all like that. We get these collectibles because we're in early, or we're in the drop early, we're here early, and there's like an excitement to that before these collectibles ultimately, accrue a lot of value to them,
Yeah, and that also gets people to, get on the app too, because you could say like, hey man, yo, go like my posts on Noizd, like I'm trying to get to that ultra rare status. It's like it encourages you to even, add people onto the platform, which is good.
Yeah, kind of like a hype up my track type of thing, so I can get to that, that level where my track is suddenly worth a lot more, and I can just kind of charge a higher kind of price for it, because clearly everybody like really digs it. But yeah,
somebody said, Sean, he said gold, platinum. So like, maybe instead of like rare, you might do like gold, platinum, just because that's like the record type.
Yeah, for sure. some of the original.
The raw vocals too, because thinking about that, as a fan of, say, like some of my favorite artists, like I remember finding Meek Mill like back in 2008, 2009 when he's making Flamers 1, 2.
Or that Piff.
And and just like if I could own like some of those raw vocals or something like that, like I would just be awesome that all the time. Because I like seeing how things sound before they get mixed and mastered and all that stuff. So
yeah, for sure. Like, dude, now I'm just thinking of imagine owning Meek Mill vocals from like back in the day. Because I mean, Meek Mill's always been like one of my like go-to artists on the American side of things, you know. But like that would be amazing, and like that actually could be, you know, something that is considered like, I guess, diamond level, you know.
Yeah. Like even like you gotta think like Pop Smoke, for example. You know what I mean? Rest in peace. But one of the things, you know, after his death and like Juice WRLD's death, they use these acapellas on so many different tracks that are unreleased and stuff, and they're doing stuff in the background with their acapellas. So it's so much use case for acapellas. I feel like that could be a good marketing point as well for the platform.
Yeah, for sure. Like that's why when I can't remember who brought it up in the chat I was having with New to Crypto guy, but that was like really insightful because I think that guy was a musician, but he only did acapellas, and that was something where it's like, okay, cool, we really gotta bring that in, which is so great about the community, and that's also why we're having kind of a retroactive like a retroactive airdrop of our token when it launches a couple of months after the platform, is basically just to like kind of say thank you to the initial users for like giving us advice, telling us, you know, what you guys need as collectors, as musicians, you know, for like helping us spread that word, because that's what's so important to us. There's so many platforms who come out and they think that they know everything, right? Like, oh yeah, well, this platform's doing that, this one's doing that, this one's doing that, so we'll just do it all. And it's like, and then you end up with a bunch of nonsense. Whereas, you know, like by us listening to that guy who brought up the acapella stuff, as I said, that was something that in the devs meeting later on that day or maybe the next day, it's like, okay, guys, this is being called for. Like, this is what people need, so this is what we're gonna do, right? And now just chatting to you and you like kind of stating that could be highly beneficial to like that sort of stuff. That's just like, I'm very happy that we listened to the guy who originally said that, because
I'll be on the ground floor tapping in with the people.
Yeah, dude.
So Noizd, how do you think that it will benefit like gamers in the future? Because I know that you were saying like you work with different game developers.
Oh no, so we don't work with different game developers. We have advisors from really big, so not equity advisors, just advisors from really big gaming companies who have like I don't want to mention the companies just yet, but arguably one of the biggest gaming companies in the world, who is heading up the partnerships there. And basically, we see there being, and also from the kind of chats that I've had with her and the knowledge that she's imparted on us, is that there's a lot of opportunity for indie game devs to basically get music for their games from Noizd by just kind of buying up those rights. So for example, it was told to me that when Rockstar was releasing GTA, just for the licensing of the tracks that they were using, they had to pay between 35 and 45 million because they needed a license for like 17 different countries, because it's not just one license, right? Like, for example, if you want to use a Travis Scott song, you're not just paying for one license for global. You need one for Upper Africa, Southern Africa, Southeast Africa, North America, then for Canada, then for the UK, then some parts of the EU, then, you know, some parts of, and you need a bunch of and eventually it's going to cost you an absolute fortune. So basically for us, from the indie game developer side, it's like, you know, you can kind of bypass all of that. But at the same time, from the bigger industry game development side, you can bypass all of that as well. So that's how it's going to be beneficial in the first iteration. But as I said, that we're also looking into onboarding sound effects artists, right? And that's basically what we're planning on helping out with. So it's so hard, and you know, I have a lot of friends who themselves are game developers, and I just know from them when they've been making like the little micro games and stuff like that, it's just so hard for them to get decent sound effects, right? And this kind of just kind of frees that up for them, So that's kind of how we're really kind of focusing on integrating into the gaming industry. I look forward to being able to announce the official equity advisor in hopefully the next couple of weeks or so. I was actually talking to Robbie a couple of days about it. A couple of days ago, I did mention it in the Telegram. I probably shouldn't have done that, but
it's a leak.
Yeah,
It's a leak.
Yeah, but bro, there's so much shadow.
Bells in the house. You gotta be careful with leaks. You know.
But yeah, no. So that's how we kind of looking to bridge into that industry and really just kind of benefit that industry. And at the same time, there's so many people within the gaming industry who are simultaneously kind of in the NFT industry and in the blockchain industry. So yeah, that's kind of how we looking to branch into that and really just kind of bolster that community as well.
Yeah, so we have one more question too. So if an artist can charge per country and a bunch of times for the same license, what's the benefit artists of doing NFTs?
So let me just sorry, I just need to see if I understand the question. So an artist can charge per country a bunch of times for the same license. So basically what's happening generally with like major label artists is that the licensing house owns the license to the tracks, and that licensing house is charging for the license for each country. So that's that. But now you've taken the second part of the question off. So what's the benefit to the artists of doing NFTs with their music? So artists, so what we're doing on Noizd in particular is we're focusing not necessarily on these big name artists, right? We're focusing on artists that are really, really good. Tentatively, you could consider a lot of them pretty amazing. And we're allowing them to put value on their NFTs to push out their music into the world as real unreleased collectibles. So you yourself are buying that track, you're buying that license. So now you own that track and that license. So hypothetically, I know that your fan base is pretty big. If you've bought this really, really what you consider a dope track from a Noizd artist, and the Noizd artist has no idea how to market themselves or anything like that, you can now push out that track to your independent kind of community. And you could even, you yourself could sell that track to a licensing house. A lot of artists don't know how to even go about doing that. And then you could basically earn money off of those licenses. If I get that question correctly, am I getting that correctly?
I think you answered it pretty well. Oh,
Okay.
Sign off.
Yeah, we lost the host there. So, but yeah, I think he was referring to what you kind of said with Travis Scott. Like, you know, there's all these like different country licenses. And my thinking is, he said, yeah, that was a good answer. So I think that answered it. But yeah, I think it was like the Travis Scott, like, you know, if the artist is making money from all these different licenses in different countries, why just release it on an NFT if you can make all this money over here, essentially?
Yeah.
So I think it looks like you answered that question. So
yeah, like what's also important to know with licensing houses. So I put up a blog post on Medium the other day with regards to like, I think it was titled like shitty record deals or something like that. But
I saw that. Yeah.
So what's important to know with licensing houses is that artists themselves, so like Travis Scott wouldn't necessarily get, I mean, I don't know what his deal is now, but let's talk about like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And let's say he became as famous from his first album, but it was 6 years ago as he is now. He wouldn't get paid the cash from that licensing house, right? First, the money goes from the licensing house. They take their cut and they give that back to the label. The label takes their cut. Then they give the rest back to Travis. And let's say he's on like a 360 deal. That rest could probably be like, I don't know, 10%. So the licensing house is taken, and he's getting 10% of what the label is taking, right? So if the label is taking 50%, Travis is getting 10% of that 50%, which is something like 5%, right?
So really, too, it's beneficial to capitalize on the beginning of your career too, like, because then, like later on, like you said, 6 years later, you know, you got this big following, big audience, and you know, maybe even a deal by that time. But then you could just go back and be like, I'm still getting paid for this royalty. I'm still getting paid, you know, from what I produced 6 years ago versus this little 10% of 50% stuff, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's the one of the biggest value and benefits is to the actual, artist.
Yeah, exactly. Like but I mean that also kind of transgresses through the streaming platforms. Like I think kind of the averaged out stats is for like 100 million streams on Spotify, you're getting like 400K, and from that 400K, 80% is going to the record label, or 90%. So you're actually coming off with, I don't know what, 10% of 400 is probably like 40K. So that's not much, right? 100 million streams, and you being the artist who's coming off with 40K.
That's a little robbery.
Yeah, it's low.
Yeah,
Man.
dude. That's like, and that's, so it's just you're basically just getting screwed from every single side, really. That's pretty much, yeah, you're getting screwed from every side. Like the licensing house, they don't have a deal with you, like with you, the artist. They've bought the license for your tracks from the record label. Has the record label given you money? Probably not that much. So that's, and then the streaming platforms are screwing you as well. And the only way that you're actually making money being an artist, if you're not on a 360 deal, is via touring. Like if you're not touring, then you're not making cash. So think about all these artists during Corona, like during mid-pandemic, right? When everything shut down, they broke. They're not making any money. They're getting nothing. Yes, crazy.
So Crypto K, he got another question. So he says, I hear that future technology will allow for artists to add NFT signatures to their art. Will this be rolled out later down the road, and will artists be allowed to release cover art also?
Yeah, so I hear that wouldn't follow to add NFC. So yeah, they will be able to add like digital signatures to the track. There is basically, so yeah, they are able to add, the second part, they are able to add cover art. We're also eventually going to allow them to add in videos, because we had a bit of a delay with the MVP. We've taken out the video part currently, but you can actually loop like 10 to 20 to 30 seconds of a video as a GIF. So that's fine. So yeah, there'll be cover art, there'll be GIFs. Hopefully, 8 weeks after the launch, there'll actually be music videos as well, which is something that's pretty important, just because I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of the tracks that I've been posting on Twitter and stuff. There are videos behind those. Those videos are really cool, and they actually give a good insight into those artists themselves. So yeah, so videos will be there soon, cover art as well, or cover art is there currently. And whether or not they want to sell that cover art as a collectible, so like the rights to that cover art, is basically up to them. But either way, you're buying that cover art as you would on like a general, I guess, digital art marketplace. Yeah, if that answers that kind of double barrel question.
All right, we have another question. So is Noizd like a label that makes the songs NFTs? Isn't a lot of those problems just solved by being independent? I'm still trying to wrap my head around what exactly your service is offering.
So yeah, so basically Noizd is an NFT marketplace to allow you to sell the rights to your tracks to collectors, right? And your tracks are unreleased as well. So that's basically the general and primary function of Noizd. We do have iterations that are coming down the line, as we spoke about a bit earlier, being the distribution service, whereby we distribute your tracks to the various streaming platforms, and we pay out the royalties 100% directly to you. Then we also spoke about the fractionalized royalties. There'll also be like NFT prints. Then there's also the playlist and streaming stuff, but that's all down the line. Right now, the platform is fully centered around auctioning off the rights to unreleased tracks. So in a sense, isn't a lot of those problems solved by just being independent? So yeah, being independent, I guess you own your own tracks, and I guess you could tentatively find someone to like knock on a bunch of doors, a bunch of label doors, wherever, to buy your tracks. But in essence, that's kind of what the general problem is with a lot of indie artists, right? They don't have those connections. They can't just go like, yeah, can I just, pick up the phone to like some guys at Def Jam who I worked with previously? Yeah, sure, I can do that. I'm sure like, a few of you guys can do that, but can the average indie artist who is making dope music from his garage do that? I don't think so. So that's where Noizd is generally coming in, to allow collectors who want to buy really collectible stuff, that they can help accrue value that's what Noizd is kind of centered upon, which is something that I guess we're basically helping indie artists. So that's kind of our general thing, is to pretty much help indie artists and change what we see as the completely skewed towards bigger industry. Like, we just find the industry completely whack and really not beneficial to indie artists, and that's what we're trying to help them kind of bridge that gap to shining a light on them. And that's also why we're also focusing, as you mentioned a bit earlier, on the various African countries, the South American countries, where basically these artists are the prime representation of artists that are taken advantage of.
Yeah, I feel like, to go off of that too, in it yet, as a content creator, like the valid ability, I think, right, to buy 10% of a song really like isn't really popping yet, promote it to his following, and like you said, as that song gains value, gains popularity, the artist gets a little more famous, and sell that for a little bit more money, etc., or just keep holding it.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much kind of like the symbiotic relationship that we're trying to create between collector and artist, right? That's like the most basic kind of relationship that we're trying to do. That's pretty much, kind of at the very baseline what we're trying to do.
So is there a way that YouTube will know, like, that a person has the rights? Like, is there a place for them to register the music?
So yeah, you can register the music. There's like, so for example, in Southern Africa, you would register it on Rika. In the UK, there's different platforms to register your music as you owning it. So basically, you're going to a licensing house and saying, I have the license for this music. So now you need to prevent others from kind of playing this. So generally, like UMG will be, so YouTube's plugged into all of the UMG platform tracks that are registered with UMG, Facebook as well. And whenever that track's played, the machine, for lack of a better word, basically flags that and says, no, that's not allowed to be played here.
Yeah. So what if you're like a collector though, and then you buy one of those NFTs that you were talking about, where it's like you kind of own that right to it? Does that mean
Kyle cut out for you guys? Me.
Yeah, I think Kyle just froze real quick. We have one more question. Do you know what Epidemic Sound or Monster Cat is?
Yeah, so I've heard of Epidemic Sound. Not necessarily. I mean, Epidemic Sound is kind of focused towards a very different type of community. And also Epidemic Sound doesn't have the other iterations that we have. So with regards to the fractionalized royalties, or the fractionalized rights, let's call it that, they also don't have the kind of instant. So when you're mentioning NFTs here, one of the things that we touched upon earlier was with regards to the smart contract within NFTs. So basically, when someone streams the track on a platform, the smart contract closes instantly, and therefore we can transfer that revenue every time it's played directly to you. So that's so there's kind of differentiators there. There's as we also spoke about earlier, with the kind of collabs between community members where they can charge entry to playlists and stuff like that. So it's kind of, I guess you could see it as like, without trying to sound kind of obnoxious or anything, a bit more of like a modern take on like Epidemic Sound in a sense. But that's also like how we spoke about earlier, where it's kind of like more of a modern take as well with regards to the distribution service later on in the roadmap. It's more of a modern take on TuneCore, right? So it's kind of, which is what we think is really cool with regards to the current tech space that we're in, is it's allowing us to be allowing us to be kind of front and foremost of this kind of shift, this like paradigm shift of technology. Got another questions all over the place.
Yeah, so these are more like comments saying, this is a way to allow, fans to buy into the music project and fund the launch of projects. and they were saying like this will give artists special privileges for early believers as well, to kind of give them something back as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also, it's
Kyle's back.
Hey, what's up?
Yo, I don't even know if you guys, or if you heard that last question, or if I cut out or not, but
I think as you were closing the question is where the question cut out.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe just ask that again.
Yeah, so I was just saying, like, as far as that fractionalized NFT, say if you are like a content creator and let's say you buy like 50% of that fractionalized like NFT, do you like, would you get paid? Like if you went to, I think you're saying YouTube uses like UMG or something like that. If somebody on YouTube was using that song or that NFT, would you get a royalty payout for that, or how would that work?
Yeah, so there's different things, like, so for YouTube you need to register. So you have like YouTube ads where if someone uses it in an ad, you would get paid, and then there's YouTube Music, right? So those are kind of two different things. That's also with like when people say Facebook Music, they're talking about when Facebook allows people to use music in their ads. So you would get paid, and the creator would get paid because it's hooked up with that particular smart contract. So every time it's used and someone listens to it, it basically, the smart contract closes, and 50% goes to you, 50% goes to the other owner of those rights. You have to register that track, but as I said, we're also providing like Concierge service to allow like that help with that. And bearing in mind for this section called Noizd remixes, we're paying out the royalties 100% to you. We're not taking any cut of that. It's very much 100% to you. I guess the very first iteration of Noizd remixes, apart from the fractionalized NFTs and apart from the multi-prints, so the actual distribution side, is working with companies like Rocky App, Audius, so the NFT streaming platforms, in order to kind of bolster the NFT ecosphere around music, and just because it's a much more symbiotic relationship than it would be with like Spotify and Amazon, Apple Music. Although that is pretty, so like we've spoken to TME, so Tencent Music out in Asia, and a lot of them it's a lot easier on to do that, those instant payouts. But yeah, so that's kind of if that answers your question, Kyle.
You're not really taking a bunch of.
So like I think you'll be a one-stop for artists. That's much more beneficial to the artist. Yes and no. We're basically, so we like to see it as we're basically, I wouldn't say fixing a broken system. We're kind of throwing away the system and bringing in a new system that's fair and fair to artists, and allows artists to value themselves as opposed to being told what they're worth by other like labels or licensing houses. And we're basically wanting to ensure that artists are getting the most for their tracks, right? So I guess also by selling it as collectibles, right? This is all unreleased stuff. So this stuff isn't heard by anyone other than the artist and by myself and
I will say this: what would be a good idea is like have it curated by like Noizd, like this is curated, like these are the featured soundtracks. That could help like collectors say, okay, that's a banger, or that's a cut, or whatever, and I like that one. And so I think that would be a good idea. I mean, you guys might have already planned obviously on something like that, but a little bit of curation always goes a long way, or different styles. I remember back then there's just a lot of different genres, and since then I've kind of gotten out of like rap and all that stuff, but as like not as much as I used to anyways. So that's always another idea too, is like back then there was like the dirty South, and then you had like all the West Coast and then East Coast, and and so that'd be fun to bring something like that back too.
Yeah, so that's so that's kind of I've just opened up the MVP screens just so I can break down to you exactly what we have. So basically we on our homepage. Maybe I should actually share. Do you guys think I should share some of these screens on like Twitter tomorrow? I think that's probably a good idea just to give more of an insight. But yeah, so so we have like our new drops. We have the what's hot section. Then we will have like Noizd top picks. But then you can also filter by language. You can filter by country. You can filter by genre. So those are like really, really important because we also want to provide, like if you're like a kind of very centralized person with regards to where you live, right? So let's say you're from like the States and hip hop music in the States, right? We want to allow you to be able to experience like Shona, or to be able to experience Tswana, or to be able to experience like Gaelic coming from Ireland, right? And so it's very important that we can allow you to filter by like, so we'll have like our top language picks. Then, we want to be able to provide you with the opportunity to listen to a guy like Tommy Cash from Estonia. This guy's getting like 40, 50 million views on his videos, but I can guarantee you a lot of people who aren't on like Southeastern Europe never heard of Tommy Cash, right? But now we want to allow Tommy Cash to be heard by everybody, or like Popek Monster out in Poland, right? And so, yeah, that's kind of how we're curating it around like kind of, we have our noise picks, what's hot, new drops, and then country, language, genres. And basically, we just really want to kind of broaden that space, which once again goes back to the whole thing of we're really wanting to kind of open it up for every musician and change that industry.
So we have another question. I know you said that there's a token that you were thinking about releasing, later on. So can you kind of,
Okay, so how does Noizd make money from this? Good question. So we basically take a fee for the what am I trying to say? So we take a fee for facilitating the buying and selling process, right?
Like go ahead.
Yeah, so not as high as super rare. Super rare takes 15%. Dependent on the value that is being transacted there, we're taking between. So we'll take a flat fee of 2.5% from the buyer. We're taking between 2.5 and 7% from the seller, depending on how much it's going for. The highest we would ever take is 7%, and that's off of tracks that are selling for 8,000 or more. So, and if you're selling tracks for under 1,000, we're taking 2.5%. But for your first 5 tracks that are sold for under 1,000, we're not going to take anything, just because that's not, I guess that's just not cool. Like, why would, that's just not cool, to be honest. So that's how we're making money. With regards to there being a token, there is going to be a token. The token is very conscientiously not being launched before the platform. We feel that too many platforms do that, and it's really just a big ass scam, to be honest. They release the token, they get a bunch of moon boys to drive up the token price with token. Then the founders basically cash out. The marketplace never releases, or it does release and then it just crashes and it's gone. So yeah, there is going to be a token. It's not going to be released on release of the marketplace either, simply because we need the marketplace / we want the marketplace to really prove itself by having a decent money flow index. So that means that we actually want the marketplace to be used. We want to actually see a lot of monetary transactions happening on the marketplace. If that's not happening, then it doesn't make sense for us to have a token unless we're wanting to be like one of those scammy companies driving up token price. We're confident that that will be happening. And so we're probably looking at launching the token about 8 or so months after launch, although I don't want to write anything in stone, because that could either be 4 months after launch, because there's a mass money flow. It could also be 4 years after launch. I hope it won't be, but it could be, right? So that's with regards to the token. We are also doing something similar to what Uniswap did, where we're going to have a retroactive, airdrop. So what that means is, and the token is going to be a governance token. So the retroactive airdrop means that for people who are buying and selling on the marketplace, also interacting with the marketplace, getting signups, but pretty much everything that you're doing on the marketplace, you will be rewarded tokens once we release the token. We're just going to airdrop you free tokens. Very similar to what Uniswap did. They were running for quite a bit before they did their retroactive airdrop. So yeah, so there is going to be a token. It's a very kind of cautious kind of territory, kind of walking on ice ice with regards to tokens, because it's just such a messed up kind of, although the NFT world is great, the blockchain world is great, the crypto world is great, at the same time it's completely terrible, because you just have all of these major scam artists just doing the most horrible, worst things. And so that's basically why the way that we're planning our token is really, we need the marketplace to prove itself. We need the community to prove itself and be actually happy before we say, here's a token, guys, everybody buy it, because then we're just going to be a scam like everybody else, you know? So yeah, so that's how we make money. There is a token. How would investors make money? The last part of this question would be, as the artist grows, right? The NFT accrues value. That's number one. So you've bought something that's unreleased, right? So it's highly collectible. You can then sell that as the artist grows. You can sell that without the artist growing. You can put that in. I mean, this is now further into the roadmap. You can put those into playlists that you can charge entry for. But bearing in mind that you now own this track, right? This is your track. So hypothetically, for a guy like myself who has got connections to different labels, I can go and I can buy this track and I can sell this track to a label. The artist is an indie artist. He has no idea how to do his marketing or anything like that. He's taken one track out of his 100 tracks that he recorded for his last album and put it out there just to see what can happen. And I've been like, okay, well, this is a dope track. I'm going to spend $4,000 on this track, and then I'm going to go sell that somewhere else. And then I sell that to hypothetically Def Jam. Def Jam loves it. They pump it all over the radio. And suddenly this artist is now super famous because someone who has connections to a label bought his track, right? That's one way. But there's also ways for like micro industries, right? So let's say, Johnny, if you want to become like your own micro A&R, you can go and just buy up a bunch of tracks from a bunch of artists, right? And suddenly you're an A&R and a micro label, right? So because you own a whole bunch of tracks that are really dope. So you're literally a micro label that can then take those tracks and sell them to an ad agency, right? You can put these tracks in your ad, sell them to a film house, sell them to whoever. You've successfully created a micro label, and Noizd has enabled you to do that. So that's another monetary stream or revenue stream for yourself. So yeah, there's multiple ways that collectors can make money. It really just depends on what the collector is looking for, right? If they're looking for something that's highly collectible because it's unreleased, if they're looking for something that's going to accrue value because they think they've got the best ear in the world and this artist is bound to pop, if they're a label who wants to buy the one hit without the one hit wonder, that's also, you know, possibilities. I'm just reading Cavell's questions.
These are good questions, man. These are great questions.
I think somebody asked that question earlier too, but I don't think we answered, or you answered that one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. If I didn't, sorry about that.
No, I think the questions were just coming through the audience, or people were just.
How much of the track's going to be initially sold for? What's the pricing model? So basically, we are wanting artists to value themselves. I myself, with the current artists that I've kind of put some snippets of some of their music on Twitter and stuff, I have been guiding these guys on what I feel they should be selling them for. But I always say, you guys need to decide, right? If I start telling you what you must sell your tracks for, then I shouldn't be doing Noizd, because that's just like, yeah, that's what we're vehemently against, because labels are putting value on you. We want you to value yourselves. So I would assume that, or not assume, what a lot of artists have said is that, you know, they're comfortable being like at $350 US dollars equated to Ethereum. Some of them are flat out said, yeah, you know, Jay, thought I could sell this for $25,000. I've respectfully said, okay, I disagree with you, but if you want to put it up for 25K, put it up for 25K, you know. You can always take it down again. But yeah, so what from what I've garnered so far is that with the initial auctions, they're going to be between $350 to $3,000, averaged out at $350 to 1.5. Having said that, I have no idea what the artists are going to finally say, and I'm not going to try and tell them what they should be. I'll just guide them. Yeah. Will there be a pre-release token sale? No.
What's Pineapple gonna put his NFT on there for? What you thinking?
Yeah, good question.
Well, I feel like, if somebody could go through and buy this and put it on the radio, I definitely would have to put it at a high price, because if I'm selling the rights to this song and somebody could do anything they want, it would have to be at least 10,000 for me.
One of
And
one, or
I would say, yeah, like 1-on-1 minimum 10,000. If it's a project, probably like 100,000.
Yeah, and that's fair. Like if you're valuing yourself at that, then that's what you should like ask, right? But at the same time, I was talking to a guy from Palapaya today. That's really small town in Botswana, and he said to me like, "Do you think I could just release like 10 or 15 tracks? Like each track is like, I don't know, $80, and then if people buy them all up, I could just release one for like 5,000-6,000. And you think people would buy that?" Bearing in mind, $5,000 or $6,000 for a track to someone in Palapaya is absolutely life changing, right?
Yeah.
That's like you can buy a house with that. And I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure if you're going to release 15 tracks at like 80, 90, $100 per track, and those are all going to sell out super fast, people are going to dig you enough to buy a track for 6K, right? And I think that's all, but bearing in mind, I was talking to really great guy who I've loved since the Tunnel Vision album. I don't want to say the name, but you guys can just research the Tunnel Vision album. But I'm very sure that he could drop a track for 100K, 150K easily. I mean, he's got like 5-6 million streams on Spotify for his last single, I think. So there's the artist has to value themselves, man.
Yeah, because like right now I have like on my Spotify, I have like 15,000 monthly listeners. I got a couple of tracks that have like, over 100,000. Like I have like over 5 tracks that have that, and it's like I see that my music has potential to go places, but I want to make sure that if certain people are on this app buying certain things, I want to make sure I don't underprice it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. But at the same time, even if you're not selling the rights, I'm very sure that, and like I don't mean this to pat you on the back or to be funny. I truly think that there's a lot of VV guys who would buy up your tracks for a lot of cash, because your tracks are also VV collectibles, although they're not on VV and they're not an actual VV collectible. They're still collectibles in relation to VV because they're about VV, right?
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I think that if you had to sell, I mean, I'll always refer to the Marvel tracks. I just love that Colossus line. But if you had to sell that track as just a straight up collectible, people would buy that, and they'd spend a lot of money for that.
So could they buy like a fraction of the rights to it, like different people?
So once we're out with the Noizd remix, they would be able to buy the fractionalized rights. In the beginning, they wouldn't be able to do that for the MVP. That's still a couple months down the line, or I guess a couple months from now, a couple weeks down the line from the MVP. But yeah, they'd be able to do that. But like, dude, I truly think that your stuff would sell as very, very dope collectibles, simply because of the clout that you already have as a musician, but then also the clout that you have within the VV community. And like, I mean, I'm not saying that, as I said, just like kind of pat you on the back. I think that that's in regards to a lot of people. There's a lot of great artists who have put their music on kind of crappy digital art pieces on Super Rare and wherever, but the music is actually the beauty of that. And I think that these people could also sell amazing tracks on Noizd, right? They can just kind of forget about crappy art because it's all about the music, right? So yeah, man. Looking forward to having.
That's lit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because with the music, I definitely wanted to make it for people that I could relate to. It's like with music, early on, I was making songs that I feel like they were just kind of just young-minded, you know what I mean? But as I got older, I realized, it's about making that music that's really true to you. It's about making that vibe that, can relate to the people in your area. And I feel like, when it came to making music about VV and the collectibles and everything, I just felt like, people will understand where my head was at when I was making these certain bars, when I was making these lines, you know what I mean? So, I feel like it's definitely about knowing your audience as well. And also, it's like everybody with VV, we all are starting to understand what NFTs is. It's like NFTs was a very new concept to a lot of us, but now the fact that I understand that this is going to be something that's going to be here for such a long time, I feel like even hearing about your platform, it kind of excited me about, you know, the possibilities for what we can do with the NFT music.
Yeah, for sure. Like,
You know, another thing too is like the whole like it reminds me of Netflix, and when I say that, I mean like some of these movies that were real good movies, they didn't get the attention that they deserved back in the day because there was not a Netflix, and so they just kind of dusted for a while, and then all of a sudden Netflix comes out, puts it on their platform, then they're getting all these eyeballs, and then it's trending literally like top 10 on Netflix, but it came out 5 years ago. So with the NFT space, I see the same thing happening, man. It's like, you know, it may be a couple years before, you know, you get a lot of these eyeballs on some of these soundtracks or whatever, and then it's just like, boom, everybody wants that. Where do I get it? You know, and so I see the same thing happening in the NFT space and literally every different vertical, like, you know, music, obviously, like collectibles is one of them, or maybe even it's a piece of art, but like a lot of that I think is really relatable to the music industry. Is like, oh man, you know, because there's just a lot of music and soundtrack and stuff like that coming out all the time, but we don't always get to it in time. By the time, you know, that artist is kind of like, yo, I'm kind of done. Yeah. And so, yeah, I think that's a cool aspect of NFTs, is because you can capitalize now, or maybe in, you know, a couple years when, you know, you do blow up or people find your work and discover it, because oftentimes that's the case with artists, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's pretty much, I mean, your kind of reference to Netflix and basically enabling kind of all of these old school movies and whatever that people didn't get the chance to see just because they didn't know it. That's pretty much what we're really kind of trying to be, right? I guess you have like crypto.com and whoever are focusing on like these massive artists just kind of releasing a track as a collectible. I mean, not with rights or anything. Where it's like, yeah, but everybody's heard that, right? I mean, yeah, Eminem did that really dope like backing track that was bought by that other dude whose name I can't remember. But everybody's heard that, right? Where it's like, we're trying to basically bring all of these people who are amazing artists to the forefront of people's attention, allow others to get skin in the game in their marketing by buying up the rights to their tracks. And bearing in mind, for an album, and David, I'm sure that you can kind of attest to that, for an album, when you're releasing an album, you generally got done 80 tracks and you've put 12 final on the album, right? So we're basically trying to provide these artists with some kind of leeway and traction before they, as you said, you know, as they just like, I'm done. Because that's such a pity. You have these amazing artists, but also like when you're just browsing through whatever on Spotify or anywhere, you'll hear this track and then you'll like look for this artist. It's like, fuck, that track was like 7 years ago. And then it's like, well, where can I find more? And you can't, because the artist is kind of fizzled out because nobody had heard of him back then, right? And that's kind of what we're trying to, that's another thing that we're trying to kind of like rectify, which once again, you know, I brought up my original platform, Panda TV, earlier, which was about kind of shining this light on African indie artists. And that's kind of evolved into Noizd. And it's just about like really providing the world with a way to see these artists, and then simultaneously providing these artists with a way in which people can help them whilst those people are still making money, right? That's kind of, but yeah, I really dig that Netflix kind of comparison with regards to, you know, letting people kind of revitalize themselves, so to say.
Yeah, I mean, it even happens to me to this day. You know, I'll like get a show on you know, a streaming platform, and then, you know, you're like consuming that content, and you figure out like they're not going to come out with a season 2 or 3, and you're like, dang it, man! Like, I was really enjoying this.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, like for instance, like I'm gonna be nerdy here, geeky, but Attack on Titan. I don't know if you guys.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm like, man, they need to come out with another one. Like, I just got done with this. You realize it's made like in like 2015 or something. And you're like, man,
like, dude, yeah. Like,
is this music also pirate proof?
I don't necessarily. So I saw the question. I don't necessarily know what you mean by pirate proof, but it's basically, I guess, if you're asking, can someone basically like rip that off a streaming platform or illegally download that? I guess so. Like hypothetically, let's say Kyle, if you buy a track and you upload that somewhere, can someone and you upload that in a YouTube video or whatever? Can someone download your YouTube video and then convert it to an MP3? Yeah, they can. There's no way to kind of prevent that. The reason it's in the NFT is due to what we spoke about earlier with regards to the transferring of revenue, the transferring of rights, and then the fractionalized buying of royalties. That's more of the reasons why we're putting it in an NFT. Yeah, I think that answers the question, but I mean, one of you guys could also answer if that doesn't.
I don't know if he was touching on like the YouTube monetization part, but like you said before, like register the software it up automatically with the machine. I mean, I'm sure if you register and you own 10% of it, it's going to pop up. I don't know if he was talking about that kind of landscape of it.
Sure. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I mean, as long as it's registered, then it's as pirate proof as any other track, basically. But yeah, here's another question from essentially the only way to invest is to gamble on unknown artists. There's no way to have guaranteed returns in there. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, but I guess that's investment with kind of everything, right? You can do your due diligence. You can also do a whole bunch of technical. I mean, on the stock market, you can do a whole bunch of technical analysis, right? You can do a whole bunch of fundamental. But at the end of the day, you're just kind of, in a sense, you're not gambling because you've done all of this kind of background research. But at the same time, you are gambling, and that's kind of the same with musicians, right? You think that you have an incredible ear for these artists. You can do a whole bunch of research into these artists. You can try look up whatever you want. You can try contact these artists. So you can, in essence, do your fundamentals into these artists. You can't really do technicals because it's.
Yeah, well, it kind of reminds me too, though, like on some of these, just like the art, platforms or like artists in general is like they kind of get discovered in a sense too. Like they're not going for like the Beeple price, you know what I mean? Like you have to do your due diligence. I think like what was the one guy that does the sneakers? Like it's like when somebody like that kind of hits a platform, you kind of notice, you know what I mean? If you've done your research. But if you haven't done your research, then you're not going to know. So it kind of reminds me a little bit of the art too. So do you guys kind of see yourself like having some of those semi like good artists come to the platform like that, where you could give you guys a little exposure and things like that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. So we do have some pretty big artists, some global artists lined up, but that's not the direction that we want to go with in the beginning. Originally, we were going to work with some really big artists, but that also became very much centered around kind of like, okay, so you're gonna have this big artist, and then where's the rest, right? And so that's why we decided to rather dive a little bit deeper into kind of what our actual value proposition was, and look at indies. But yeah, no, we do, and also that's got to do a large amount with the team's connections to the industry. We do have a lot of big artists lined up. Once again, I'm not gonna say any names or anything because I don't want to be held down to that. But yeah, we've got some pretty big guys who are, at the very least, very interested and enthusiastic about the platform, and enthusiastic enough that they would like to sign up some of the African-based guys to their actual labels. Yeah, so that's we are looking at a lot of big guys as well. If that answers the question.
Yeah.
So you said, are you hinting towards a NFT Shazam?
That's I don't know how to answer that.
Yeah.
Basically, what we were thinking of is eventually having some sort of kind of method where, because right now, as I said, a lot of the stuff is going to be done manually, where the artist has to do a whole bunch of KYC, and then well, not a whole bunch, it's not that hard. The artist has to do the KYC and then give us the tracks, right? But what we are eventually wanting to do is have some form of kind of Shazam inbuilt sort of thing, where basically when the artist submits it, it basically gets proof checked if that is an actual unreleased track from that artist. And that is highly doable, and it's something that we are looking to doing, not for the not for the MVP, but sooner than later, actually.
So
because,
what?
yeah, make it seamless.
So what's tokenomics look like? Like, is there going to be burning, or is there going to be like staking or something like that, or?
So yeah, so it's not going to be a deflation model. It's going to be done on a bonding curve, similar to what the guys did with Tape, with one of the first. That was one of the first NFT projects. Tape and Saint Paris or whatever. I can't remember what it was called. But yeah, no, it's going to be done on a bonding curve. Was really hot to do bonding curves back in 2017. We think it's a very good use case for what we're trying to do now. Yeah, so that's kind of the basic tokenomics behind it, and the distribution, and as well as the value raising. So yeah, not deflation or anything like that.
All right, so I do have to go soon. So, let's do our closing remarks and, let everybody know, your future goals and anything you want to say just to end off.
Yeah, I just realized I've been talking nonstop, so sorry for keeping you forever.
No, you're good. You're good.
Um,
I'm glad this happened. You know what I mean?
yeah. I guess, yeah, man, like everybody who believes in the platform, sign up, noizd.com, Noizd.com. We really just want to change the industry, help out artists, help out the general public, being collectors, fans, followers. We highly anti-scam, so please don't hassle me about tokens in the beginning. Please just don't do that. And yeah, man, we just want to make a difference. We find that this is a bad industry, and it's been bad since it started in 1889, right? Yeah, so where we want to go is to make an effective change to the industry. If you're into supporting African or South American artists who really need that break out of there, just tune into the platform. You don't even need to sign up. Just browse around. We're launching, as I said, hopefully end of July. And yeah, man, thank you guys so much for having me on. Thanks for being on the Telegram, engaging on Twitter. Really special. I love what you guys are doing. I really love what you guys are doing. David, I love your track. It's like really dope. Hopefully you and Johnny will be on the platform. Kyle, thank you so much for joining as well.
No problem.
Yeah, thank you everybody who's in the chat, man. Yo, this was definitely, some great questions, and I'm glad that everybody was really tuned in and, staying engaged with everything that we're talking about today.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you to Cavell as well. It seemed as though you were with your questions. Yeah, man. If anybody has any questions for me, though, hit me up on Twitter. I'm highly available on LinkedIn, Instagram, Telegram chat. That's always preferred, or Discord. And yeah, man. Thank you guys for having me.
Definitely.
Peace.
It's been great, going here about it, and I'm excited about it. A lot of other people are too.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it.
Thank you guys. All right.
Peace.
Bye.